What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Morning Brew podcast. If you're new here, welcome. I'm your host, Kayla, and today I'm joined by jazz musician Luke Marzec. We're here to discuss his two-part album release, as well as learn how his favorite song came from living a Cottage Core dream. Pull up a chair and get ready to meet Luke. I'm so excited about this episode. I hope you'll enjoy it. All right. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. Luke, welcome for the first time.
Hey, Kayla, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for joining. Do you want to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yeah, sure. My name is Luke Marzec. I'm a British soul pop artist. I make my own music and productions, and I write all the songs, and I play most of the instruments on the tracks. I'm based in England. Currently, I'm based in the southwest of England, in a very beautiful rural part of England called Devon. And I've come back to use the studio, which is at my mum's house here in the barn, for a few weeks whilst I'm preparing for some shows. But anyway, yes, I'm a singer, and I've got an album coming out, and I think we're here to talk a bit about that.
Definitely. Yeah, so I have some more questions to get to know you a little bit better. So where did you grow up, and did that influence your taste in music at all?
Well, I grew up in London in the 90s, and I think there was a statistic which said that 1 in 4 households in the 90s had one of the albums by The Beautiful South, I think carrying up the charts, their greatest hits album. Have you heard of The Beautiful South?
I haven't.
Okay, well, this was a really big band from Hull in the northeast of England, and I don't know why the English public loved them, but we did. So one of the staples in our household was The Beautiful South. And my father was born in the late 50s, so Beatles was a big part of my upbringing, and some other 60s music. I had lots of Elton John, had lots of Queen. That was at home. A lot of the music I got when I was developing kind of like my own sense of music, and which wasn't from my household, was we had a few guys in our group who were really had their ear to the ground and were really aware of some super cool music before it was the mainstream. So you got like a guy called Burial, who again was like one of these crossover pioneering dubsteppy kind of guys. Then you had Mount Kimby at that time, which is another British act, and then that kind of laid the space for James Blake, which was a British dubstep-inspired producer and singer, and he's been on like Beyonce's records and maybe some Kendrick. Yeah, he's done really great. So when we were growing up, that was a really big part of our lives, and that was very much in English music. We went to Sub Dub Club in Leeds, which was just in a West Indian centre, and it was some real heavy, dark, cool music. With lots of rastas on the door, the really kind of scary looking bouncers, but it was in like a community centre, and then the next day it would turn into like a church community centre.
Oh my God.
It was a real iconic space, actually. Yeah. Anyway,
that's awesome. So is the music that you listen to similar or different from the music that you make?
Yeah, so I don't actually, that was like kind of my growing up. Recently I've listened to lots of Bob Marley, and before that I was actually listening to a lot of the Beatles and Ray Charles, and I got into some jazz again. So I was listening to some Art Blakey. I like, a lot of older music really. It's what keeps me going. A bit of Nina Simone. I like to learn lots of covers from that era. So Louis Armstrong, Ray Charles, Nina, and Bob. They're like big staples of mine. I like a bit of Dr. John as well. I mean, these are some stuff I really go back to. And like a lot of that mid 20th century jazz, American songbook stuff. It's just such great education for songwriting, for harmony, for how to do cool chord changes and modulations. Like you can learn so much from that, and they're beautiful songs. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of other kind of modern music that I find. Yeah, who's that? Frazee Ford I've been listening to. Do you know her?
No.
Oh, she's like a kind of country singer. And then there's this band Dope Lemon from Australia, which are probably the coolest band in the world.
Oh, I'm going to look into this later.
They are awesome.
Nice. So I heard that you received formal training on classical and jazz, but then you had to sort of unlearn that when you were moving into creative performing. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's like one way of seeing it. I mean, like, by the end of my formal education, by the time I was 18, I had spent 7 years at the Royal College of Music Junior Department, which was, a classical school set up in the 19th century in Kensington in London. And it was a super holistic, rigorous education, which had chamber choir, orchestra, jazz bands, wind orchestras, sax lesson, jazz sax, classical piano, and theory lessons. And that was like for 8 hours, 9 hours every Saturday, for 30 weeks every year.
Wow.
30 Saturdays every year. So that was most of my Saturdays. And I guess I was really like full up by the time I was like 17. So I kind of went the other way for a while and I don't think you don't realise that you're unlearning it. But when I went to university to study philosophy, I met some guys who had, maybe had some lessons on the guitar and just listened. Like, I had a band with a guy called Kit Monroe. He was a really good mate of mine at the time. And he just learnt the blues by listening to like Neil Young and stuff. And,
Oh, that's crazy.
And then actually me and him would listen to lots of B.B. King. And, he knew the blues scale and he knew how to do the blues scale. And I had all of these, all the other scales in my head, and then it was just like, nah, you can just use the blues scale. And the drummer in my band at that time was also kind of self-taught. So, like, after 7 years of being in, I guess, an institution, it was then just being with kind of more normal musicians who just had their own taste and learned music just for themselves. I met a really great guitarist called Joel Whittaker, who's in a brilliant band called Keg. They're kind of Talking Head style-y kind of thing. And he was, he said to me, like, when I was growing up, teachers had rules about everything and they were always saying what you can and can't do. And for him, the guitar was the place where it was just his rules and no one could tell him what to do. So, it was like a few years of spending time with just people who taught themselves and were like really wildly creative and didn't have any ideas of what you could and couldn't do. And that was really formative for me. But yeah, but at the same time, it's taken a real long time to kind of do a full circle again and now be able to use everything that I learned when I was much younger and all the stuff that I've learned from such wildly creative people and be able to kind of bring those two worlds together. But, I really appreciate the jazz training I had early on because I have an ear, which means I can just listen to any song and hear what they're doing.
That's so cool.
Yeah, like there was this one song by this British artist called Cosmo Sheldrake. He's doing a tour in the States at the moment and he's a super smart and creative writer and producer. And one of his pieces had so many like diminished chords, moving, hanging chords and all these. And it took me quite a while to work it out. And it was like quite a cool exercise. But it was one of my favourite songs at the time. It's called Does the Swallow Dream of Flying? And yeah, all that education means that I can listen to a song like that. It can take you a little while and then just be able to work it out. So I really appreciate all that education and I'm so grateful for all the friends I made in my early adulthood who kind of taught me to see the light in the other way.
That's so cool. That's a great skill to have.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the people that I went to Royal College with, I mean, some of them just did the opposite, but the ones who stayed in music are real kind of leaders. And yeah, we had a really good education. It was a really good elite education. And I was very, very lucky to be there. I mean, it was, one of the top schools for young people in the country. Really great teachers. My teacher, Mornington Lockett, is a British sax player and he can probably play the fastest, wildest stuff. I left that school when I was 18 with a stack of music manuscripts and exercises and all of this about a foot deep of just paper, which I could then go through later. And one time I was moving house and I lost all of it. I had all these. It was one of the most saddest things in my life. It was a lot of really nice classical pieces that had been given to me by my teachers, all of Mornington's exercises that he wrote for jazz sax playing, and I lost all of it and it was so gutting. It was a really sentimental thing. Anyone listening to this, when you get a second-hand or third-hand manuscript and it's got someone else's writings and interpretations on the paper, and then yours, and you rub other people's bits out and write, yeah, they're really sentimental things, and it was gutting. But nothing is yours forever. Everything will always turn to dust and go back to the Tao or whatever it is.
Hopefully, someone finds it and makes good use of it.
Yeah, I hope so.
I want to ask you about how you spent your time during the pandemic, because I heard you did some interesting things.
Yeah, the pandemic was, people either had the worst or the best time, I think. And I was living on a narrow boat. And for people listening to this that aren't from England, it's a long and narrow canal boat. And these were originally freight barges that would go up and down the canals and carry whatever freight between the old 19th and 18th century industrial warehouses and stuff. And later they'd get turned into kind of holiday boats. So it's kind of like tiny home living on the water. And you have your solar panels, your off-grid setup. You've got a coal burner or coal and wood burner for your heat. You've got a water tank. I had a really big one, which is good. And yeah, everything was fully off-grid. And a few days before lockdown happened, I left the city of London to go find a haven outside of the locked down cities. It was a city virus. It didn't really exist in the countryside. And after travelling for a while, trying to find the right place to stop, we found like a little community of boaters in the middle of the Midlands in England. And there was probably 10 boats moored up. And that little community was essentially locked down. No one came in and out of it. And that was a really beautiful, simple time. So the pandemic happened and I decided I needed a break from making music, from writing music, and from I felt like a lot of pressure at the time. And I just had the wrong impulses when I was writing. I had to fulfill a quota or whatever of a certain amount of songs. So I kind of took a risk and it was like, I'm not going to focus on making music at all. And I just wanted to give the opportunity that at some point in the future I might start writing again for all the right reasons. And I made some sketches over that time and I did a lot of practice and got all my saxes serviced, and then at some point 2 or 3 years later, I didn't even notice, but I set my studio up again and I started writing, and a few hours into that I noticed, I was like, it's been 3 years and now I found that organic impulse, that amateur hobbyist impulse to want to make art. Obviously you can professionalize that, but you need to maintain that innocent, childlike making of music, and that came out at the end of the pandemic, a couple of years after, and that was the beginning of what became this album. So it was a whole fresh take on everything, and I had loads of life experience stored up for like 3 years. I had loads of different jobs, worked in the film industry, I worked with builders and carpenters, I did up my boat, I worked with stonemasons, I travelled lots of the country, met lots of cool people, and then finally I got down to writing music again, and I was full up with stories and romances, not just, with a woman, but just a romance in life. And so I was really lucky. And COVID, I took a big break and it turned out really well for me. I was really glad.
That's super cool. You said you worked on film stuff. I heard that you worked on the candy tree in Wonka. Is that true?
That's right. Yeah, that was that was a really interesting process. So we had a model and a photo of what it was supposed to be a chocolate tree at first.
Okay.
It's supposed to be a willow tree, and all like a weeping willow. Do you know what a weeping willow is? Yeah. All the weeping willow leaves were supposed. Well, anyway, that was supposed to be the candy, and we, in a team, built this tree, and we looked at the model and the photos, and we looked at the tree, and we're like, it's perfect, it's exactly what they wanted. And then the director came in and realised that all these big leaves from the weeping willow would obstruct all the cameras.
Oh,
and they said, you're going to have to cut it all off. So then we cut off, we had 20-foot lengths of weeping willow leaves that took ages, weeks and weeks to make, and we had to cut it all off. And it got to a point where we were like, you can't cut any more off. I mean, it looks terrible. And then we went away for Christmas, and after the Christmas break, they had been experimenting, and then they covered the chocolate tree in about 200 litres of pink paint. And we hadn't prepared for this. Now the tree was a few hundred kilos heavier, and it started collapsing, and then we had
Oh
to
no.
get loads of steel wires and support all of it, and then it looked absolutely terrible. And the whole set was finished, and this was the last thing holding it up. And then they're like, "Oh, why don't we put some cherry blossom on it?" And we were just like, "What the hell is going on?" It was like the third or fourth time trying to fix this tree. And then we had like a week or two left, and me and this girl called Gina had to turn this completely broken tree into a cherry blossom candy tree. And actually, after I finished it, and I think it looked brilliant when I left it, I remember going home and I was like, "How do we do this?" And I was just imagining these clouds. I was like, I want it to look like
Yeah.
like candy floss. So with lots of wire, I was like having to pin it around and like working super fast and long hours. And then we finished it, and then they changed it again, and then they added all the tassels because the whole tree was on a turntable, so the tree would spin. I don't know if you've seen the movie.
Yeah.
So they wanted all these kind of garlands hanging down so that they would spin around. So that was quite an experience. That it was quite frustrating actually, as the film industry is. But it was really awesome. And again, I learned a lot from that. And it was super fun. That was nice to have kind of some creative control, i.e. we had to try and fix things just using your creativity a bit. So that was really fun.
That's super cool. The burning question is, did you get to see Hugh Grant dressed as the Oompa Loompa?
Oh my lord! I haven't even seen the film, and I wasn't in that scene actually with the Oompa Loompas. I wasn't on the standby. I was only there for the build, but not for the actual shooting. But I didn't even realise he was in it. That's wicked.
It's really funny because he plays all these serious characters and then he's there like orange and with green hair, or maybe it's back. No, it's definitely green hair.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'll send you a photo.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. No, I do think I record it actually. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's move into talking about your music. You just released part A of your EP, Something Good Out of Nothing. Tell me about the decision to split this release into two different parts.
For good or bad, I wanted to release it in two, so it could give me the opportunity to present both sides separately and the opportunity to kind of plug it for a bit longer. I mean, like, there's just the worry these days that you put something out and we live in like a kind of single culture where a lot of people just hear singles that are on certain playlists. And I wanted to be able to give as much light to as many of the songs as possible. So the track listing of the album was decided for the vinyl. So there's 4 tracks on one side and 5 on the other. And I just thought it might be a cool opportunity to be able to give a bit more time to release the music and allow more of the songs to get heard. Because sometimes it's the case that you release an album and just the first couple songs or the lead singles get heard, and then the rest of it might get a bit lost in the mix. So nothing too deep, really. It's just that it's going out on vinyl, and I wanted to just try releasing it in a slightly different way these days. Everything's all a bit discombobulated in music distribution. So, yeah, it's just my take on it.
No, I like it. I personally like when people do releases in an interesting way that's kind of different. Gets my attention.
Oh, nice. That's good. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking the next one, I might not have any lead singles and, just drop an album or two in one day and do that as well. Just try something different. And probably next time, maybe release just the vinyl first. And yeah, it's nice to be a bit creative with stuff.
Yeah, totally. What is your favorite song off either side, A or B?
It depends for what. Okay, Red Boletes is my favourite track on the song. It's my favourite song of the album. Red Boletes is the final song of side A. A bolete or a bolete is a mushroom family of edible mushrooms that grow in coniferous forests. So I don't know if you know, ceps or porcinis are like the best kind of bolete. And that song came out of a day of autumn foraging in the woods. And me and my best mate went to forage some wild mushrooms. And then we went back to my boat, just on a river in the middle of nowhere. And I made us a beef ale and wild mushroom stew with mash and peas. Very classic English meal.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and the song came out of that, and I wrote a song. I wrote it with my best friend Theo Bachelor, and he's a great wordsmith. And he was having a wax in my toilet and saw a crack in the window, and I was playing the guitar, and he came out of the toilet and said the line, "Broken window panes. I've felt this pain before," and it was just the kind of writing I would never do. It was instantly poetic.
That's so cool.
And I was instantly excited and thrilled. And I was, it's kind of, yeah, let's go. So we spent the next 3 days writing that song. And it's a beautiful song about friendship and, living with passion and adventure and living with heart. And we spent all of our energy on that song for 3 or 4 days. The penultimate verse is new morn dawning, rising through the mist again. Like at that point in autumn, the ground was quite wet. So every morning I was next to a sheep field, but you'd have super misty mornings and the sun would kind of creep through the really thick, humid air. So a lot of the imagery just came into that song. Me and Theo have a tradition of when we haven't seen each other, one of us will buy either some rum or Courvoisier or something like this, and Courvoisier makes its way into the song. Yeah, it's just a beautiful song about friendship. On side B, I think I've got a couple favourites. Space to Be Free is a slightly Bob Marley inspired song, and like Bob, he often talks about power and power relations between the powerful and the people, and I kind of explore that, and the production's really cool. I'm really proud of that. And the last song of the album is really cool instrumentation. Yeah, it's quite a varied album sonically. So yeah, I think some of my favourite songs. One of my favourite songs is the biggest sound and the smallest sound. I go from Red Boletes is just acoustic guitar and voice, and then some of the biggest songs are horn sections and synthesizers and full band.
That's awesome. And you touched on this a little bit before, but are you playing all of the instruments on these songs?
Yeah, everything apart from drums I played
so
on the
cool.
album. Yeah, and I wrote the song, the album in a barn in Devon, and my immediate neighbour to that barn, took me a while to meet him, but he's actually an American from New York called David Beauchamp, and he's a drummer, and a great drummer, and a really experienced pro. And we slowly started playing together. We had a little band in the village, and then he started working on this album with me. The space wasn't really set up for recording, so I built all the acoustic panels, he bought the mics. We spent a lot of time. I don't know a lot about audio engineering, but we just set up some microphones in one position, recorded it, noted down what those positions were, and then tried a different position, and then we took photos of each arrangement of mics and listened to each of the recordings and just slowly worked out what was our favourite sound. I know people can have studied audio engineering and know a hell of a lot more than me, but we just used our ears and we just trial and error. So yeah, it was really, 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 really great. And David played the drums, and yeah, I played everything else. It took quite a while to make it for that reason, and I'm definitely not doing it again. I will get my friends who play those instruments much better than me to do it next time. But again, it was my first time making music for the first time in a long time, and it was a very personal thing. And also I was in the middle of nowhere, and I didn't really know many people here in Devon at the time. And ever since I wrote the album, I've met lots of amazing musicians here, and I've got a lot of my friends in London. So the future work will be collaborative and make use of other people's skills. But it was really fun, and I learned a lot. I'm not the best bassist, but I write good bass lines. And I'm not the best sax player, but I write good horn lines. Yeah, so it was a really cool process.
Yeah, that's super cool. I don't think I've talked to anybody that's played all of the instruments on the track before.
Oh, yeah.
First time for everything.
That's right.
So based off the title of the album, I'm curious, of your opinion, what's the best way to make something good out of nothing?
Oh, okay. To make something good out of nothing, you just need to look close to you. You have everything you need really close to you. All you need to make something amazing is the will to do something. And you might think that you need the best resources to build something, like the best timber, planed and sawn from the best mills, or whatever, but actually we have everything we need all around us, and you just need to open your eyes and realize that the people and the things closest to you are all you need. And if you look at the things closest to you, the resources, the materials, the people, then you make something unique as well. Yeah, and it came out of making something good out of nothing was kind of by making some of the best experiences of my life. It's just my friends in a field with a fire, some music. It's all you need. You just need people, alcohol. No, that's a joke. You just need, you just need people and like love and a bit of effort to you can just get some takeaway food or McDonald's, or you do a bit of effort and make a really beautiful meal and share it with some friends. So yeah, I think that's the answer.
I love that. That's a great answer. I'm also curious, what do you think people misunderstand about jazz?
Okay, what it is that a lot of people that learnt jazz from the conservatoires. A lot of the people in the later 20th century learnt it from teachers and conservatoires. The music became institutionalised and it lost its roots. And whereas it started as a folk music, it started by just some really hard-working, amazing musicians from local neighbourhoods in Cali and New York. And it was also something that moved with the times. But at some point, it ossified, it kind of turned into stone, and people said there was a specific era when jazz was jazz, and some people got a bit purist about it. What they misunderstand is that because some jazz players focus on the language and all these crazy notes, and it's like, you're like, wow, what the hell is going on? But actually, jazz isn't jazz. Good jazz is just good music, and it's got good, it's simplicity. You have a nice melody and a good beat and cool instrumentation. And at some time, Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin, he wasn't a jazz player, but he did crazy solos, but at the core of it was a tempo and an instrumentation and a feeling, and that's all you need for good music. And a lot of the old timers from jazz didn't even like the words; they thought it was a pointless word. And it's music. And there's so many people that would learn from and this is the thing I had to unlearn, that you're learning from the schools and the conservatoires. You're learning just from a few select players and a few select concerts or albums. Everyone's sounding the same. Everyone is kind of looking up to the same albums, and it's just looking at the wrong things. And yeah, it's really got its feet again, but people misunderstand it when it's a bit wanky. Oh, that's not an American word. When it's just, it's like just focus on the simple things. Nice groove. Anyway, I'm
No, that's a super insightful answer. I like that. Are you ready for the silly question?
Yeah.
All right. So the first song on part A is "I Can't Get You Out of My Mind." What is something that lives in your head rent-free?
Oh, bloody hell. Loads of things. What lives in my mind rent-free? Donald Trump lives in my mind rent-free.
Me too.
Yeah. And actually, it's not rent-free. He should be paying me rent for that. I'd rather he wasn't there.
Okay. If you had another opportunity, non-pandemic, to do something totally different with your life, what would you do?
I would be a house builder. I'd build old oak-framed houses with the old methods, just using hand tools and joints and, timber frame house building, I think. Yeah.
Nice. Would you go thatched roof or regular roof?
Well, that would not be in my area of specialty. I'd leave that to someone else. I would just be the frame guy. But actually, so in the old houses in England, in Wales, you've got these old Tudor houses where you have an oak structure, and actually they make a thatch for the walls out of sticks, like hazel. They make a kind of a weave, and then they push loads of mud and stones and lime into that. And yeah, I mean, I want to do that in my life as well. I want to make an oak house like they used to.
That would be
But
so sick.
but yeah, but that's what. Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. Or a philosophy academic. I could do academia. I think read books all day and stuff.
That would be so cool. Teaching or learning?
Well, you have to teach as well. I think teaching and writing. I actually was on a phone conversation with a guy I went to school with who runs, I think, one of the biggest vinyl production and distribution companies in the UK. He's called Zahid Hassanbucks. He's got White Peach Records. Actually, I mean, maybe he doesn't want me saying this, but he's got like 4 masters in philosophy and further mathematics, and whilst running multiple businesses, spends his evenings writing philosophy papers.
That's
and
crazy.
Making music. I was like, what is this person? I mean, he does it all in one lifetime. Jesus.
That's insane. I could never do that. Another song is Growing Up With You. What was your most embarrassing moment growing up?
Oh, what can I say publicly? I don't know, man. I can't talk about getting stoned on this podcast.
Oh, you totally can. I have before.
I mean, it's a funny story, but I don't know if it's the most embarrassing. So I don't know what my most embarrassing one was. Oh, no, calling a teacher dad isn't that bad. Can we ask a different question first, and we can go back to that?
Yeah. Okay, so the other one, I'm going to share my screen really quick so that you can get a reference. But the question is, which Eminem character do you think is the sexiest?
Oh my god, I thought you said Eminem as in Marshall Mathers. Oh. God, I was imagining Eminem dressed up as like a fireman and stuff. Well, I got to go for the most feminine one, which I think is the purple one.
Yeah, the purple one I think is like fairly new.
Yeah. But they're all quite, it's either purple or green. I think Green's got sexy eyes and like a bit of a pout going on.
Yeah, Green's got legs too.
Oh which is your, who would you go for?
Man, I think brown. Brown or green.
Okay, yeah, Brown he's got the glasses.
She looks smart. She looks educated.
Oh, right, yeah, I guess she does look feminine as well. And then most embarrassing. Oh God. Oh, go on then. I wasn't actually a teenager, but I was in my early 20s. I was at uni. I might have been like 19 or 20. We were all sat down by the river, and there was like 9 of us sat on like a bank, sitting by the river, having a picnic or whatever. And I sat on I was on the end, and I sat next to someone. And I sat in loads of dog crap.
Oh my God.
And we were really far away from home, and it was a huge pile of crap. And it had been crusted over, so I didn't even notice it at first. But anyway, it was pretty fresh, and it absolutely stank. And all my friends humiliated me, and they were like, "Bro, you stink of shit, go home." And I was like, man, I can't walk like for miles in town. I think I've actually blocked it out my memory because I'm trying to work out if I threw the trousers away and walked back without any trousers, or if I walked back covered in crap. So yeah, I think that was the worst. Yeah.
Oh my God, I don't even know what I would do. I think I would have to go no pants.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I must have done that. But it took me ages to go, and I was like, can someone walk with me? And they'd be like, no, bro, you stink, you know? It was, oh, God.
You smell like shit.
Yeah, I know. They're like, get away from us, man. You stink of shit. It's like, you're my friends. God.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay, the last question is I do a thing where the last artist on my show will ask a question for you, and then you get to ask a question for the next person. So my last guest, his name's Matt Blitzer, and he's from this band called Superette, and he wants to know, when was the last time that you called your mom?
Well, I see her quite often. Last time I called my mom, oh man, I see her all the time, so I can't even remember.
No, that's a good...
Okay, do I need to still answer it? I'd have to look for my phone, but I think the point of the question was checking how often you stay in touch with your mum.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And yeah, we both live in the same town, so yeah. Okay, and I need to ask a question for someone else.
Yeah.
Is this podcast just about music?
Music and creators, so kind of in between.
Okay, how do you get out of writer's block?
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay. I will ask them that for sure. And then lastly, where can people connect with you? And do you have any upcoming shows or anything that you want to promote?
Yes, I do. On the 24th of May in London, for anyone that's here, I've got showing off my live band for the first time in a secret location.
Ooh.
As of yet, it's still secret. That's 24th of May in London. I've got a solo show the week before in London on the 18th of May. I've got like a live electronic set I've been working on now. So I'm trying to like do 4 or 5 things at the same time, and it's really exciting for me. At the start of May, I will have the next forthcoming single from the second half of this album, and if you check me out on Instagram and soon on Bandcamp, you'll be able to pre-order the physical vinyls. But yeah, if you're in London, 24th of May, you'll hear a band like you've never heard before, reimagining this music. It's going to have the soul of all this music, but it's going to be played slightly more freely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Luke. This is really cool.
Oh, great. Thanks, Kayla. It's been a pleasure. I felt like we finally... I felt like the longer we went through this conversation, the more relaxed I got as well.
Oh, good, good. That's always the goal. That's all for today's episode, guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with a friend. Go give Luke a follow on Instagram and check out part A of his new album, Something Good Out of Nothing. Be sure to tune in next time for another super fun interview. Thanks, guys!